So,
Okay.
welcome to the West Town East Goshen Police Commission meeting of November 21st. My name is Dick Pomerantz and I'm the chair. Cody
Bright, East Goshen, Vice Chair.
And just in fairness, Tom Stoner is our citizen at large. He's away on business, so he's unavailable. Hi, Mike.
Hey,
How
good
are you?
morning.
Let's go around the table. Mila?
Mila Carter, Westtown Township Manager.
Derek Davis, East Goshen Township Manager.
Kathy Burrow, Business Manager for WeGo.
Be a lady, interim chief of police.
Here.
Kelly Taylor,
Kelly.
Administration.
Let's go around this. Can we have all of you introduce yourselves?
Yep, Jason Diamond, Detective. Dave Hale, Detective.
Mike Bragney, I'm the president of the association and also the sergeant of detectives.
Andrew Lang, TSU.
Michael Bryan, sergeant.
Russ Lieberling, detective.
James Reniger, Sergeant.
Steve Wassel, sergeant.
And Zarell Patrol.
Jason Large, corporal.
Thank you. Just Lang, got to tell you something. One of the most famous Canadian football players today plays for Winnipeg. You know what his name is? Andrew Lang. Probably more information than you ever needed to know. I'm going to ask everybody to stand. We're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Before we do, I'm actually going to ask our new police chief, Dave Leahy, to lead us in that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we sit down, I'm going to do a moment of silence, and specifically there have been, seems to be an ongoing refrain at every one of these meetings. There have been a number of incidents with police officers, law enforcement officers across the country. And so particularly being the week before Thanksgiving, one of the things that on a personal basis I've been thinking about is that while many of us will be celebrating with families, there will be some families who will not have that opportunity to celebrate. And so for them and also for all of your safety and your families, just a moment of silence. Thank you. So we'll begin with an to give you an idea about executive sessions. An executive session was held prior to discuss personnel issues. That was today. We also held executive sessions, all dealing with personnel, October 24th, November 3rd, November 7th, and November 19th. Do I hear an approval of minutes for October 2025?
So moved.
I'll second that. Any questions about it? All in favor?
Aye.
The chairman's report. It's going to be a little bit longer than usual, and I hope you don't mind if I do this. First of all, from the point of view of the police commission, it's been an extraordinarily active and productive year. And you get a sense of what we've done. Obviously, there's been the staffing study and work has already begun on the process of some of the implementation of that. And I'll leave that to the police chief to discuss whenever he wishes to do that. We've had the successful culmination of the collective bargaining agreement, which still needs to be signed and all the rest of it, but at least congrats to everybody involved for getting that done. The successful culmination of the partnership agreement between West Town and East Goshen. The successful culmination of the police chief search process, of which there'll be several opportunities more also today and in the future to tell you a little bit more about. In addition, the police commission and all the board members were very pleased to participate and to learn that Kathy Brill will be staying with us through 2026. I cannot emphasize more how it was a combination of relief, happiness, and a thanks for you agreeing with me. Regarding the police chief search process, it was an extraordinary process. It was long. It was arduous. It was arduous not just for the applicants, and I'll come back and comment about that in a second, but for all the stakeholders involved, particularly the police commission, the supervisors, the township managers and the like. It culminated on November 19th, just a couple of days ago. And one of the great experiences for all, and this is who attended, all 8 members, 5 members of the Board of Supervisors for East Goshen, 3 members of West Town, plus the 2 township managers. I would describe it as thorough a discussion, a series of questions for both. There were 2 candidates left. They were both tremendous. And that's not BS. We all talked about it afterwards. The other candidate was the police chief from Upper Pottsgrove, Jim Fisher. He was extremely impressive. But I will tell you, and I'm saying this with a certain amount of pride, speaking on behalf of WeGo and speaking on behalf of yourselves as the department, and obviously for the administration, Dave was spectacular. Full stop. He's a very, 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 I'm going to talk about you, if you don't mind. He's obviously a very nice guy. But what we saw in him was something different. Sometimes there is a process that takes place and you realize over the period of that process that you see a growth in him, in that individual. And that's what we saw in Dave. There was still that very nice person, but there was a leadership that came out that we all remarked about afterwards. It's very, very, at least I'm in my last year as a board member for West Town. And I guess I've been on the police commission now a number of years. It's very seldom that you have all 8 members of the 2 boards agreeing unanimously, not just unanimously because you voted on it informally, but unanimously because we all comment on it. And boy, Fisher was really, really impressive. But that guy is the right fit for us. So both Cody and I want you to know, for us, in some ways, it was a very difficult decision to make to get to that point because you had to go through this process. But all I wish is that you all would have had an opportunity on November 19th to be there for all of us. It was a fantastic experience. And this, I'll speak now as a person about to become a quote layman, non-politician, if you will. This township, our West Town Township, East Goshen, and WeGo are going to be incredibly well served with Dave as being our new police chief. So at this point, guys, how about give him a I can see that none of you were happy, so that's okay. I also want to congratulate different stakeholders. Kathy, you played an enormous role. You know that. Mila, Derek, without you as the township managers doing this and your involvement, we wouldn't have gotten here. To my colleague on my right over here, it's been an interesting journey. So, but I also want to congratulate the 8 board members, the rest of the board members. This was unusual for them because they had not been part of the process. And they came into the meeting prepared with their questions. And I can't speak for East Goshen, but I'll speak for West Town. We didn't rehearse that at all. It was literally, and Ed Yost, Tom Foster, and myself, we're all very different personalities, and we came to it with different questions. And there were good follow-up questions. And it forced both Fisher as well as Chief Leahy to be on their toes. None of the questions were easy. But they weren't gotcha questions. They were questions that brought out the best in both. And that's why, again, I think in terms of the decision for us, it was just such a natural decision. Last point, there will be a formal ceremony on December 19th, 11 o'clock. I'm assuming as many of you will be there for it. I've been informed by Kathy that it's going to be quite an event, and a very moving one. And so I guess we'll all look forward to that. So that's my chairman's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Just a few want to follow up on the thank you for everyone. First, I want to thank Mike, Dave, Nick, I think who's on Zoom, as well as Russ for successful CBA. I appreciate you all reaching out to us early in the process. I feel like it was a very fair process to both sides. Communication was kept open the entire time, and we appreciate Kathy running 13 different budgets every time I'd call asking for different numbers, getting that back to us with her team, getting back to us so quickly. Also, in part of the partnership agreement as well, I want to thank Derek and Mila for that, and I believe thank Dick, as well as Tom Foster and Michelle True, who all served on as part of myself too, who served on that team. And then also want to thank the board, my board, for their trust during the last 2 years with all the things that we've navigated. But most importantly, I want to thank permanent police chief, I guess not permanent, permanent for now, Dave Leahy as our chief. Sitting back in January to sitting now, I didn't know that this is where we'd be, but senior growth the last 11 months has been tremendous. As Dick pointed out, our 8 board members is very hard for them to agree on anything. And the fact that I anticipate deliberation to last probably at least an hour after the interview was maybe 3 to 4 minutes. So it shows how well you showed up and how well you've done the last 11 months. And I'm very proud of all the officers in here and you. I love hearing from residents, their great interactions that they have with everyone. I've never heard anything of that's been negative towards you all. I'm very proud to work alongside you all. So thanks for this opportunity and just congratulations, Chief. Thank you.
When Tom Stone and I had the opportunity, I think it was the end of December, to sit down with Dave. And we explored the idea of whether one would be interested in being in the interim chief, and then to talk about the expectations. As I mentioned before, to see the evolution in him as a leader. One last comment I made to our 8-member board supervisors on the 19th. You would think that in these kinds of processes, I've been through a lot of competitive processes in this kind of position. And yet people tend to think is that the person who walks in as the applicant in a finals is the one who has the greatest pressure on them. That's not the case. The person who has the most pressure on them is the incumbent. And that's why this whole process was so interesting. Because on the 19th, the person who had that pressure to go beyond, to exemplify an added value level of leadership, that's was what we saw in Dave. So with that, Chief, your concerns.
Well, first of all, thank you. I wasn't prepared to give any remarks that I'm going to give now. But to go back to what you said, Dick, the community, West County Excursion will be well served with me as chief. Well, I appreciate that, but what they are well served with are over here.
There's no crying in baseball.
Sort of like Dick Vermeil, a little bit, I've been told. But no, they're well served with these men and women over here, the men and women on Zoom. The residents are well served with them. So honored to be able to lead them and go forward to lead them as chief. So thank you very much. Thank you very much to the police commission, to Derek, to Mila, to the board of supervisors from West County Excursion. I really am honored. So thank you. As far as my report for this month, we received compliments. We received a letter from a gentleman thanking Officer Ted Cam for his professionalism and compassion after his wife was involved in a motor vehicle crash in October. The gentleman was very appreciative and thanked Officer Cam for his patience in speaking with him about the accident. It was apparently a very serious accident at 352. Both on the phone and then when Officer Cam arrived at the hospital, the way he spoke with him, dealt with him, explained things to him. in regards to his wife's accident. Kathy received correspondence from Brett Casano, Sage Road resident. Who contacted us and wanted to thank our officers for the presence we've given them on Elkhorn Road at the bus stop since our last police commission meeting. A daughter of a Westtown resident in Green Lane Village left me a voicemail earlier this month, thanking Officer Herman for his professionalism and his assistance in helping her elderly father who had suffered a medical emergency in October. So as always, thank all the officers for their dedicated work they do on a daily basis serving our residents. Now that the chief selection process is done, I know I've spoken with the police commission in the past, but I'd like to begin the selection process to fill the current vacancies that are in the proposed budget going into 2026 for full-time officers and anticipated retirement going into 2026 of a current sergeant. Just begin that process now so we can get it rolling going into the new year.
We agree.
Agreed.
So Lieutenant Stafford and I participated in the pipeline exercise that was conducted in October. It was put on by the Department of Emergency Services. It involved all stakeholders from Westtown, East Goshen, Police Department, EMS, fire. It was a good collaboration of all entities involved there in anticipation or preparation for a potential emergency with the pipeline. So it was a very good exercise, and I hope to participate in one of those again in the future. We had a coffee with the cop event in at the Giant supermarket in Westtown last week. It was a great turnout. We got to meet a lot of residents from both Westtown and East Goshen at the event. So we're looking forward into 2026 to have another event. This one will be held in East Goshen. That's all I have for my report.
Excuse
Yeah, yeah, and gentlemen and ladies, if you don't want to stay, you don't have to. You don't have to stay on my part. But
me. Thanks, Olivia, for working.
yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I can just make a comment, if you're worried about our readiness, this was 20 minutes ago.
It's great.
Yeah. Let's do statistics.
So for the month of October, the department handled 2,118 calls for service. The year to date, as of October 31st, the department's handled 20,279 calls for service. Specifically, Westtown, there were 999 calls for service. In East Goshen, there were 1,104 calls for service in October. And all the entire breakdown of calls can be found on the police commission packet on the crime watch page. There are some trends that we expect, one specifically coming up that we get hit with every year during the holiday season, and that's the theft of envelopes and gift cards from trash cans. This time of year, we typically take reports, and we have over the course of many years of these thefts of the generosity of our residents given to their local trash collectors. So these individuals go around overnight, in the darkness. They look for the envelopes or the cards that are taped to the trash cans, and they'll just steal them. So we have in the past actually caught them in red-handed doing this a couple times, but we'll see it again this year. So we suggest our residents to come up with another way to show your generosity to your trash collectors, whether it be contact the company, give them your card or your holiday card in person. Or if need be, we don't suggest this, but if you have to leave it on the can, leave it taped on the inside of the can if there's a lid to it. Also, with the holiday season upon us, there's going to be many parties and gatherings that we will be taking place. We'd like to remind individuals to use a designated driver or a rideshare service should they consume any alcohol at these events. Our officers will be engaging in proactive DUI enforcement patrols throughout the remainder of the year in anticipation for the increasing DUI drivers on the road. So that's all I have for statistics.
There was something that came across or came out during the interview process, and we hear this a lot. So we did some research afterwards. This, where should, if people are expecting gifts, and, we've been told is that you get a neighbor to look into it. It turns out, it may not be with every UPS store, but many UPS stores are offering that as an ancillary service. So that even if you don't have, let's say you're not a client of a UPS store with a post office box, for a fee, they will accept a gift that's been delivered in somebody's name, and then that person can pick it up at the UPS store. So you may want to think about that, explore that with the UPS stores that are around here. Okay. It's safer.
I've actually seen recently on the news that there's a private individual created their own business to collect or bring in. They can ship it to this location and they'll distribute it. So our resources out there as well too.
Okay, that'd be helpful. Township Roundtable. Amelia, you want to start?
Sure. Just a couple of things. The project on Route 926 and 202, and that project is ongoing. I'm hoping it will be done by the end of December in terms of the main intersection and the main part of it. But the project will not be complete until spring of 2026 in terms of the brand new driveway. The Board of Supervisors did approve the subdivision of a 2-acre property that's right on that corner with the Darlington Inn. The idea is once the PennDOT's project is done, is to put it up for auction. On West Pleasant Grove Road, we are doing road closure this upcoming Saturday to take down some trees as a part of our road program for next year. Because next year we are hoping to widen the road and repave it, the entire stretch of West Pleasant Grove Road. We would also have to lift restrictions. Right now it is closed to truck traffic. So that would change because it would be compliant with PennDOT's guidelines. And I think that's it.
Derek?
So I'll be brief as well. We do have our Monday, December 1st at 6:30 PM, East Scotia Park. We have our Christmas tree lighting ceremony. There you go, Cody. So we do have our annual tree lighting ceremony Monday night, December 1st at East Scotia Park. Should be a good time as always. So I did want to mention, we have the last few meetings we talked about it and probably are in the cusp of passing it, but we have a joint land development going, 16 home subdivision with West Wayland. And it's 13 houses in West Wayland, 3 in East Goshen, which should be illegal. I'm going to get on my soapbox. But it's not. So we're dealing with that. And I just want to mention that, Chief, because we're probably going to need, we're working through an intergovernmental agreement in order to provide services to those 3 residents. Mostly will be West Wayland, but for emergency responses and stuff, we'll probably have to get together with you and see how we'll handle those 3 homes as they start getting built and people get in there. And I think that would be all.
Do you know what time the tree lighting?
6:30.
6:30.
Yeah.
On December 2nd, this is something that will transcend several townships, but also will be very, very specifically tailored as well for Westtown. There is a private event taking place at Westminster Church at 7 o'clock. Anticipate actually quite a few people showing up, and that's regarding Quebilly. People have been asking, as you might expect, many questions about not just the future of Quebilly, but where are we today? Things such as when are you going to do the master plan, particularly if you're not going to get the grant for a master plan in light of what's happening in Washington, et cetera, with budgeting. So that event's going to take place, and I invite anybody who lives in the area who has an interest in Quebilly to attend. It will be very interesting. Look forward to it. Okay. Review of the approved bills for October 15th and 30th. There's just any questions about it? None? Okay, let's move on. Old business. Kathy, you want to talk a little bit about the version 4 of the budget?
Sure. Version 4 came out dated 10/30/2025 after the contract was settled. And the officers received an increase. I can't read my numbers here, 5%, right? It's 5%. There were a few other benefits that they received. I can go into them at some other time if you want to wait till December, but the budget as a whole only went up less than 1%. And the minimal increase is really due to the fact that our MMO reduction for 2026 was reduced by $400,000. Otherwise, this budget probably would have increased maybe 3%. So we're doing good. And this needs to be approved by the townships in the month of December.
The question to ask you is that, and you sort of touched on it, is that let's assume, because I think you in the past have said, if the MMO went in our favor this time, it may not happen next time. Let's assume it maxes out next time. Same number, 400,000, 500,000. What will that do to the budget?
Well, obviously it'll increase by, what is it, 2%, 2%?
8%.
Yeah, 2%, but I don't see that happening. I was not given any kind of information on that, but I don't see that happening.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll kind of remain steady for now, unless the stock market does a whole bunch of crazy things. But
That's why they do the 2-year lag time. as
yeah, there's
well.
a two, yeah, I think
So-
next year will be okay.
Could you just do us one favor, is that for the December meeting, could
Sure.
you get some reaffirmation on that?
Sure,
Okay.
no problem.
That'd be really helpful. Is there any item in here, in terms of expense that you looked at and said, that's a concern?
I think we're always concerned about health insurance, although we haven't really been hit too hard lately, so that would be my only concern. The rest of it, truthfully, like 92% of it is contractual, so we all know what's gonna happen, there next year. It'll be, I think it's 4%. What's 26 into 27? The 425, yeah. Now, with that being said, the fact that we are replacing a couple of positions this year, we're replacing them not at 140,000, we're replacing them at, a lot less. So our budget moving forward for the next couple of years isn't going to increase as much as you think. We are losing a full-timer sergeant in February. So as much as everyone's concerned about the future, it's a young department now. A lot of the people that have been here for a long time are going to be leaving at higher rates. So I think we'll be okay.
In East Goshen, what have your healthcare costs gone up for next year? Do you know?
Ours was 10%.
The percentage was around, I think it was a little less than that. So it was like 8%, something like that.
Okay.
Versus 6. So I'm not sure why it would be different for.
It's interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we were told to budget up to 10% increase for house benefits and up to 15% for liability insurance. So,
In the West Town East Goshen month-end report, there was something called miscellaneous income. And I just wanted to ask you about that. There's a reference that said miscellaneous refunds of almost $40,000.
Right.
What
One of
is,
them was a check for 39,000 from one of our car payments.
Oh.
It was sent back to us. We did not owe it.
and then there's one thing that I didn't understand, and that just may be my problem. Under Ameritrade, the TD Ameritrade account had moved to Schwab on March 20, I guess it's 2024.
Yes,
Okay.
that should say 29.
At 25, okay, that's one. And secondly, it shows a loss rather of $160,000. What is that?
It's just a loss in the market.
Purely that,
Mhm.
okay.
But we have a total gain of 573 this year. 573,000.
Got it.
That was a bad month.
Yeah, it's
March.
just a very bad.
Yeah.
For all of us.
Yeah.
Last one, and this is, because if Stone were here, he would be asking this one.
Is this the month end or the budget?
Well, this is, the proposed budget,
Okay.
version 4.
Mhm.
Under accreditation fees. Okay. It shows that proposed for 2026 is $42,500. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I don't have my notes in front of me. However, I think that Chief Leahy can help. 20,000 of it is for the accreditation
That's a consultant.
consultant,
Okay.
right? And then there's at least, I know there's another $10,000 fee for the Power DMS.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that includes the Power DMS where the accreditation standards are uploaded to. And then obviously in addition of the anticipated $500 bonus that.
right. There was the $500 bonus, right, that added to that. So the consultant was 12,000, sorry. And the contract approved a $500 bonus for each officer. And currently we have 31 officers. So that increased that line item.
Last question for you has to do with, again, on the budget, the fourth, version 4. This relates to the SRO grant through 2027. First of all, it shows that the proposed grant is for 80,000, which I think is great. But I thought the number was 75,000.
Let me get to that point. That 80,000 included other miscellaneous income coming in, not just the SRO.
Okay, so here's, having gone through this experience with the SRO that you're very familiar with. And Chief, this may be something in between you and Kathy to deal with. Maybe it'd be helpful not to wait for the school board to come to us. Because 2027 is going to come by pretty quickly. You might want to think about is that having a strategy going into it prior to that, sometime in the middle of next year, early to mid next year, so that it doesn't become a prolonged negotiation. Maybe they'll just agree to the same deal, whatever, but they should. Okay.
Right.
So that's a recommendation for you. Other than that, I don't have any more questions.
Chairman, I have some stuff which will need some collaboration from you as well, in just town part. Yep. I'll start off with something easy for you, Kathy. I know at the beginning of this year, we considered looking at the rates for what we charge.
With special details.
The special details.
Mhm.
I don't think we made any changes that this year. It'd just be a recommendation that we relook at that for the new year
Okay.
and see if there's some.
Right, we can definitely look at that. This year, I can honestly say that, that became, started to become a little bit like right on the line there. So,
I figure some of our younger officers will be a lower rate when they're doing those types of works, but
right,
I would like to make a little more money if possible.
I believe it's been 13 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a while.
so there will have to be a resolution then.
Okay, yeah, and that'll be probably for the next police commission, but it's something to look at.
Okay,
My next thing, which will need some collaboration from my friends in Westtown, let's go to the e-bike specifically. I know Dick and I had the chance to go look at our bikes that are almost as old as I am. I wanted to know if Westtown would have been amenable to maybe not purchasing the e-bike next year, but replacing it with a few regular bikes. And one of the reasons for that, me making that request, is someone who does serve on the bike patrol unit actually has to bring his own bike in because he doesn't fit on the current one. So I didn't know if you all would be amenable to removing the e-bike and purchasing a few, I don't know what that number would be, regular bikes.
Your thoughts?
Yes, I'm fine with that. In fact, I would at this point almost prefer that. I think the e-bike going into the future, like we discussed in past meetings, would be very beneficial with Crepley and our, East Goshen Park up north. But I believe having 3 or 4 newer bikes would be more beneficial at this point than the e-bike. So I'm good with that.
I'm in favor.
Okay, thanks. And they're roughly about 1,500 or 1,600.
About
apiece.
15,
So if there's 1,604, you get to 64. So that will have to increase that line item a little bit.
do you want me to increase it before,
It's up to Dick. He would do the second vote.
so 4 times 18, so 6,000?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do a version 5.
Yes, just make sure one fits for Herman, okay?
Yeah. And
And then the next one's gonna get me in some hot water with Jason, so I apologize in advance. I know, Chief, you're looking to do a strategic plan in the future, and one of the things I'd request, I may not be on the board by then, but there being a car plan as well.
Mhm.
Examine if we do need 4 cars each year, some we may do 2, 3, 4, 5, what that looks like. I know our costs from EMS and what we gave our fire departments, things of that nature went up tremendously this year. So from a budgetary perspective, I'd be interested to see if we could go down to purchasing 3 cars next year instead of proposed 4. I don't know what that would do to the fleet, but I'd be open to having discussion about that. If it would, how much it would really set us back. And plus West don't have to be amenable to that, but just a point of discussion.
I started those talks with Corporal Large already, so I'd like to discuss it with him more, but I believe the 3 would be a possibility.
Okay. What are your thoughts, Dick?
First of all, we haven't, on a totally different vein, we haven't really decided yet as to how we're gonna be dealing with EMS. And I just found out, I guess it was today, that you're gonna be funding it. Yeah, so we're still debating it. So, where do I think we're gonna end up? To be very frank with you, we weren't particularly pleased with the answers that we received, from Chaz. So it left. Maybe it's easier to deal with it when you got 5-member board, 3-member board, yeah, more difficult. So, I'll go with, whatever the chief says about, if he thinks 3 bikes are fine, then let's go with 3 bikes. Whatever. 3 cars. About three bikes will even be fine.
Instead of cars.
Would you like me to put that in version 5 as well?
Yeah.
3 cars?
Yeah.
3 cars, not 4.
And then again, just going back, I think it'd be helpful if you're already starting those talks with Jason. I think the future board members on the commission would appreciate us.
Right.
I agree with that.
All right, I think that is my last thing. I was happy to see all the different things that we negotiated in the CBA put in here, and it's nice just seeing the things that we discussed with the kitty, and then the increase in the 457 contribution, the accreditation that you had already mentioned.
The increase in the cap of longevity.
Yeah. And my last request is when we get the new drone, I'd like to go see it and go to some of the training. So that's what absolutely. Thanks for bearing with me.
Let's move on to new business, which is the acknowledgement of the new Westtown East Goshen Partner Agreement. You guys want to comment on it first, and then we can do the same. Your thoughts.
I think it's great. I haven't been able to read it cover to cover yet. I browsed through it. I gave a copy to Kelly as well. Obviously, Dave has one. I personally don't have any questions. I think it looks good.
I'm in the same boat as Kathy. I haven't read it from beginning to end. I've breezed it over the last 2 days, but everything looks good to me as well.
So if I were to summarize the key points, and Cody, feel free to chime in here. Big changes will be, there will be no citizen at large. And instead it will be 2 police commissioners, 1 from each township, and 1 alternate police commissioner, 1 from each township. And the role that the latter will play will depend on, they'll be non-voting. And they only become voting if the individual who's after the police commissioner is unavailable, et cetera. So that's a major change.
Okay.
To me, the only question that I had was, and maybe it'd be helpful to get your answer on this, and that is that let's assume that the 2 police commissioners, because there won't be a tie break. There's no tie break as an individual because you don't have what you call citizen large or a third party. So what it will be the process in the event that there, for whatever reason, that one township says X and another township says Y.
I answer that, and I would defer to Derek if I forget anything, but I think we'll just stall, and then it would just be given up to the 8 board members to make a decision. And if the one party doesn't want to move forward, then we don't move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it, and again, we've dealt with this already in the past because previously to Tom Stone, the at-large member was sort of treated as somebody that was kind of out of the voting process in a lot of different ways. So I think it just comes down to working together and keeping talks together with both the 2 commissioners and the 2 boards as a whole. And like Cody said, it just, until you actually agree, I mean, it becomes a matter of negotiations. I mean, until you agree, and whether it's just the 2 commission members and then you bring in all 8 members if it gets really, because obviously we're allowed to meet as jointly as boards. So I think it's just a matter of negotiations at that point, and then it's stalled until somebody can come up with, and it has happened. I mean, we've had, I remember 5 years ago when I first came here, there was a couple of different things with the staffing study, and we could not agree on it, and it stalled it out for 2 years until we finally tweaked it enough where we both agree to move forward with it. So I'm committed to making sure that we do everything in East Goshen side to work well with Westtown, and I'm sure you guys will do the same, but it's definitely something that's a little bit unique in the Commonwealth. I think there's one other police department that kind of operates this way. So it's definitely a model that is not 100% tested. So we're going to see how it works, and you can all blame me if it doesn't go well.
Emil, your reaction on it from a
Yeah.
Westtown point of view?
Yeah, I agree. I think we have to see how it would work out in the future, because the agreement can always, there is a deadline on that agreement as well. So once you get a little bit of a track record where we have too many situations that would happen, then you can always amend the agreement and try to make a different structure. But you have to have a little bit of a track record, see what the issues would be and what type of issues would come up.
Okay. Let's move to officers'
Do you mind
comments.
if I add something really quick to that?
Hmm?
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Sorry, really quick.
No.
Another thing that did eliminate PPUs officially, but we're still doing the data collection. And then as it pertains to the third member at large, I want to follow up on what Dick said. We negotiated and talked about what that would look like more than any other point of this.
Mhm.
I think ultimately from an East Goshen perspective, it was, do we want a third person on this board who may live or may not live in the township making business financial decisions on behalf of township residents that they weren't elected to serve, nor do they live in. So that's all the only.
I think the biggest unknown right now, and I think we'll feel this out, is this, and I know it kind of lays it out in the agreement, but the specific role of the alternate members, because there was some back and forth on that as regards to, do we have them involved in certain subjects, just even directly in certain ways with the managers. Obviously, they're involved anyway, coming to the meetings, being the backup for the actual commissioners. But I think that's something that we have to feel out with the WeGo administration, with you, Dave, and also the two townships as far as what we want those alternates to do. Because I think it's also an opportunity to have people more engaged on the board level than previously they were.
Would that be something that, when I send out the packets, Kelly and I, that we would send it to those two as well, so they can keep.
Yeah,
It's a good
You have to
point,
be,
yeah.
'cause you have to, for all intents and purposes, they're full members, they just don't get votes.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Um, I'm trying to think of one other point that was just brought up, but I can move on from there, and that is officers' comments. So officers, any comments from you guys?
Yeah.
Wait, Hale looks like, you look like Karnak, you know who Karnak was?
I don't think I do now.
do.
So my name is Mike Bragney. I'm the president of the association. So when I speak, it's not how I feel, it's how we feel. So I just wanted to get that out right from the beginning. So I'm going to start with our new chief. At the beginning of the process, I made a public comment at one of these meetings that when you guys announced that you were going to do a national search, and I made a public comment on behalf of the association, right? Because it's how we feel, that no matter who you brought in through the national search, that you will discover and realize that the best guy for the job is sitting right in the room. And I remember when Dave first got hired here. And watched him go through the ranks, and we couldn't be happier and more proud of the way he's been leading this department and what he's going to be in the future here. So kudos to you guys for seeing that and realizing that, and we couldn't be happier to have Dave lead us here in the future. The ripple effects that decision makes is huge, right? With the morale and the future and the future promotions and the future hirings and having Dave here is huge with the morale with the police department, which I think we need, right? I think that's been improving and it's steadily going up, which is great. Speaking of morale, I want to talk about the contract that we just negotiated. We're super happy that we got that done in the fashion that we got that done. I think when you put together negotiating teams and you build relationships with people and there's a genuine likeness towards each other, I think that's super important when you go into a negotiation. And I truly feel that there is a likeness, which is great. It's huge steps forward for everyone in this room. I think the way negotiations went was, and I made a promise right from the very beginning that there was going to be respect and reasonableness. And I think we obtained that. And again, the morale that boosts in the department is unmeasurable. So I want to thank everyone in this room for the negotiation process to go as smoothly as it did. Is just fantastic. Another big morale thing is the agreements between the townships, right? That's stressful for us. And I know you guys know that because I brought it to your attention in the past. And the fact that the townships, there's a likeness there, I think that's growing, which is great. Because there's been some dim days in this room in the past, and I just don't see that now, and I don't see it in the future, which I think is awesome. So the fact that you guys were able to put together an agreement between the two townships, again, is just huge for our association. So thank you. And then obviously, I have to mention Kathy. I didn't know that she was going to be staying another year, and that's just awesome. She is not only, an asset to you guys and to the townships and with the budget, she is an asset to us also, the association. And the things that she brings and the knowledge that she has and the support that she gives to our association is, she knows, I tell her this all the time, but we're really happy that she's staying for another year, and we're really going to be sad when she decides to leave. So that's my spiel for today. If you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them.
Start lobbying for 2027.
I'll work on it. Okay. Dave, congratulations.
Thank you.
And congratulations to the townships for your agreement. You guys are doing an awesome job, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Any other comments, guys? Carnett?
I have a comment.
Kathy?
Since I've been here longer than anybody else, and 40 years, this is the first day that I've ever seen everyone happy, including the commissioners, the supervisors, the chief, the employees, and the police department, the officers. It's the first day I've ever seen everyone happy. And I wanted to let you know that.
I'll make one comment, and it does pertain to Kathy. In my professional life, I've worked with a lot of different people in the equivalent position. And then when you do it on a volunteer basis like this, and you're working with somebody from admin, and that's true, but your whole department. So really, I'm speaking in that regard. I don't want to embarrass you. So, because you do embarrass easily, particularly when somebody pays you a compliment. There's a level of professionalism in Kathy that is an anomaly today. It's unusual. I use the expression of there's got to be somebody who can act as a glue. The glue from puts puts a stickiness to altogether. All the different stakeholders may not always agree. But there's someone who's in that position of who does it with also a smile. And does it with a tone, and you just heard the same tone. So I totally agree with you, Mike. I mean, it's like, but I've said this to her. This is my second to last meeting on the police commission and as a board member. I'll say it to you in December as well. I want to thank you for all the work you and your staff has done on behalf of the police commission and for the police commission. And obviously by doing that for the association, the managers, et cetera.
Our pleasure.
Keep it up.
Can I say just one more thing?
Sure.
Since everybody's happy in the room. When we did the contract, we negotiated an accreditation bonus for the police officers. And it was a mistake on our part that we didn't try to extend that to the administration staff. I think they work even harder sometimes than us when it comes to accreditation. So I know that last budget version 5 is coming out. If you guys can just think about it, to maybe extending that to our admin staff in some way, I think they would appreciate it. We would appreciate it. And I think it's deserved. So that's just my opinion. But if you guys should just think about that, that would be.
I guess you now have an agent. You want to deal with that now, or we'll talk about it later?
I would just I'll deal with it later, but one thing this last couple of months, I know the commission's made it an effort to ensure their admin staff receive some increases larger than I think they've received in quite a while to acknowledge their work.
Yes.
And I know that at least Dick and I, if we're continuing on the commission, we are committed to continue to do that. But as it pertains to the bonus, that's something we can discuss later. But I do want everyone to know the work that we appreciate that they've done and try to reflect that in their increases.
And we've all felt that in admin. Just so you know, they did a nice job.
Good to hear.
Let's go to overtime reports. Back to business.
During the month of October, there were 327 hours of overtime. She noted that 88 and a half of those hours were for mandatory training, that being our firearms qualification and our less lethal weapon certification and less lethal weapon certification that's required through MOPEC. There were 11 and a half hours of operational overtime, 96 hours of comp overtime, 35 hours of personal overtime, which is normal for this time of year with officers using the remaining personal hours for the year, 96 hours of sick overtime, and the 88 and a half hours of training overtime that I mentioned.
That seems, is that normal? That level of training for this time?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I
Yeah.
figured.
Yeah, so we have to, so everybody's aware, we qualify twice with our firearms. We qualify in the spring, we qualify in the fall. Additionally, we have to qualify annually with our less lethal weapons. And then as of 3 years ago, MOPEC, the state, the Commonwealth incorporated a new law that officers are now required to complete an additional 8 hours of training in control tactics. So that's in addition to what we've done in the past.
So we get a sort of almost like a better sense of the 88 and a half hours for that is training. What would that have actually come down to that if on a normal basis? So for that specific training for firearms was of the 88 and a half, how much was that for the firearms?
I would have to break those numbers down for you, Dick. They're combined. I combined both the less lethal and the firearms. And the way this overtime is, it's not the officers completing the training. It's replacing those officers that are taken off the schedule to go to the training. If that makes sense.
I'm not questioning as to the validity of it. I'm trying to understand. So the 327, I'm just comparing it to the other months. So you have one like for about 215 or 219. You have another one total of 275, and this month was 327. If I sort of, and I'm going back to what Cody asked, that the 88 and a half is high, but that's normal.
Yes.
But of the 88 and a half, if it had been a typical month, would it be more down to a total of 240 instead of 326?
Oh, so, yeah, so typically, so we would be down rather than 327 hours if I'm following you.
Yeah.
We'd be down to 238 hours for October.
Okay.
But if you're talking about what the split was between the firearms and the less lethal,
Yeah.
it's over the course of not just October, but with September as well.
Okay.
So that's why September looks 48 hours of training overtime, but on a normal month where we're not doing this training throughout the year, you're probably looking at more along the lines of August, say, 6 hours of training OT or up to words of 20, somewhere around there, just for replacing officers that are going to external training that they may have requested or sent to.
And then to go back to the sort of the prototypical question that we've always had, and you were good enough to start dealing with it from a implementation point of view. If you were to compare our overtime hours, so I said the last 3 or 4 months versus with the changes that have been made with the TSU and the like, what would have been, how much does it actually come down, do you think, in terms of overtime?
So for October specifically, the traffic safety unit supplementing patrol hours, that being if somebody were to call off sick or if they were to be scheduled, if somebody was using a comp day, they covered 148 hours of time that otherwise prior to that implementation would have been covered through overtime.
Okay.
So if roughly like we've done in the past, we use the flat, amount of $100 for October, you're looking at $14,800. So far in November and so far up to today in November and estimating the remaining of the month, we're looking for November, 156 of those hours for supplemented by traffic safety units. So if you do the math there, it's $15,600 for November.
Last question. Couldn't help it. It's a minor in terms of the number of hours, but KinderCare terroristic threat, what was that?
So I would defer to Sergeant Ragney. That was an incident.
So, that was an incident where, it was kind of like domestic related where, there was 2 parents that just do not get along and they share responsibility to dropping the child off down here. And then, there was a threat made from one parent to another parent that they were going to shoot the other person. And that was basically
I didn't know my parents moved here.
so, yeah, so Detective Miswich was working on that. We got that kind of squared away.
Incredible.
Can I add some homework to your play cap as if you don't have enough already? But in the December meeting, can we do a year to date for both years in regards to overtime? Yeah, the difference in overtime, please.
Yep.
I know my board would be interested and be thankful for all the savings, so.
I'm gonna go to month-end report. You want to deal with that, Kat?
Sure, just gonna drink my
Take your time.
So for the month of October, our payroll expenses are under slightly. They will be under by as much as 2% as a result of the special details that were refunded on. Benefit expenses were at about 20%. We're going to be right on target by the end of this year. Vehicle expenses will be the same. I believe I projected a $225,000 surplus this year, and I'd like to stick with that number this month. Obviously, I will have a better number in November, the end of November, but I think we'll be good to go.
Great.
We're doing good.
Any comments, questions?
Perfect. I was just gonna ask about the surplus. So.
EPU report.
So for the month of October, EPU numbers were for Westtown 47.11% and for East Ocean 52.89%.
What does that tell you? Obviously, it doesn't count, but it's helpful to have the data.
Yeah, there was an unusual spike in Westtown for the month and trying to determine exactly why.
Was that the guy who was,
Sage Road?
yeah,
Was it because of the Sage Road or no?
No,
or was it?
not necessarily.
Or was
I'm
it the
trying to
guy,
determine
a
exactly.
man who left his house in, I think in Chesterfield?
Oh, yeah.
And
And
We're trying to track them down.
it would have
That
been,
would have been, was that October, September? That was September. That was September. Yeah. So I began trying to research why that went up
Oh,
so
there
high
was,
for 1 month.
926 and 202, there was an issue with the traffic light. That was last.
Yeah, but I don't, it wouldn't, there was no, I wouldn't foresee that going up, over 1%.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
If you could find out, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I'm still looking into that.
Super, okay. I guess next one would be public comment. You guys are part of the public. So with that, we thank you all for attending. Thanks everybody for coming. Meeting adjourned. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.